If you're someone who cares about building a healthy belief system, or you've heard about shadow work before but you don't know how to start, in today's video I'm going to give you the practical guide to shadow work for analytical men as a simple process that you can just fit in your day-to-day life and into your notes app. So without further ado, let's get into today's presentation. So first, I want to start off by busting a couple of myths. When most men hear about shadow work, they picture a psychedelic ceremony in the jungle or going to a retreat in Bali and crying around people that you've never met, or maybe having a crazy emotional release experience on a Zoom call. And if you're someone who's high performing, who's used to being around a certain group of people, that experience can feel a little bit vulnerable, and it can also feel a little bit pointless, because a lot of the time what happens in these experiences, and I know this because I've been to retreats and I've also spent time in places like Thailand where a lot of people come to participate in these kinds of experiences in northern Thailand, right? So what happens is these types of experiences feel really good in the moment, but a lot of the time nothing really changes 6 months later. And that's the main thing we want to look at here, is we need a system that can fit into your day-to-day life. If you're a high performer, right, you probably don't have that much time or desire to take a few weeks away to go on a trip to Bali or to go find yourself. And I don't say that to knock that idea down. I think there's times in life where that's valuable. But this video is about giving you a process that you can fit into your day-to-day life while making progress on your goals. You don't have to put everything aside and just focus on your belief system. And this is also for people who care about improving their relationship with themselves to make a better impact in the world, right? Not to just chill on the beach forever. Because I think part of the process of building a healthier belief system is to then use that asset that you build, which is your mind, to actually serve other people and to make the world a better place. And if we're just doing that on our own and we're not contributing to the world, it's like we'll climb to the top of the mountain, but we're not really helping anyone who's trying to get to where we're at. So if you're an analytical man who prefers a clear system over vague healing, and you want a process to explore your beliefs that can integrate into your life without taking away from your goals, and you don't have that much interest in expanding your collection of crystals, although I think crystals are cool, this video is for you. Now, to show the power of this process, I want to give you a quick example. One of my clients is a CTO who'd done therapy, who'd done retreats, who'd done meditation, group coaching programs, he'd done everything, right? But every time he was left alone with his thoughts, his nervous system felt like it was on fight or flight mode, because he had a belief that he needed to perform to feel loved. But when he was alone, there was no one to perform to. Now, when we started using the process I'm about to share with you in this video, here's what happened in just 7 days. His mood went from 3 to 5.7. His meditation went from 5 minutes a day to 15 minutes a day. And one of his key lessons was, when you can't push hard feelings out, you can still let good ones in. And he was able to share more vulnerable things with people he cared about, and choose honesty over performance. Now let me give you a 6-step outline of what this shadow log process is. First, we catch the trigger in the wild. Second, we identify the story underneath. Then we turn triggers into patterns. Number 4, we bring this to someone who can help, or use our own understanding of the 3 classes of shadow, which I'm going to dive into in a little bit. We have one home for our shadow log, and we watch the numbers change. So this is a high-level overview, and now I'm going to break it down for you step by step. Step 1, catch the trigger in the wild. During the day, anytime you feel an emotional spike, like anxiety, feeling small, anger, irritation, note down the time, the situation, the intensity, and one sentence about what happened. Super simple. For example, Tuesday 3:10 p.m. stand-up, manager questioned my approach, my chest was tight, and I had a story that if they find out, I will be exposed. And the intensity was 8 out of 10. So you can log any emotion that comes up throughout the day that's strong, just using this process. And from there, in step 2, we go a layer deeper, where we revisit the triggers at the end of the day or any time where you have a little bit more time and maybe you've calmed down a bit and you can look at the situation more objectively. What we do is we ask, what story was I telling myself that made this experience feel like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, instead of a 2 out of 10? This turns experiences like, I just felt anxious, or I felt bad, I felt unsure of myself, to this story underneath, so we become more precise with our language. And as we have more precision with our language, we're able to resolve issues a lot more efficiently. So maybe some stories that come up for you could be, if she's quiet, she as in the person that you're with in a relationship, I must have done something wrong. Or if I say no, people will leave. I'm incompetent and people are about to find out. So going through your own logs, you look at your own triggers and you go, was there a story underneath that? And the key thing here is, like, for example, if you have a relative pass away and you feel very sad about it, that's just grief. It's not shadow, right? Shadow is usually something that you experience when there's a discrepancy between how this event would feel for most people versus how it feels for you. So let's say you get really angry in traffic. That's most likely a shadow pattern to some extent, right? Or you step into a social environment and you think about saying hello to someone you're interested in and you just freeze, you can't say anything. Again, that's when you discover a shadow pattern. So we want to recognize the discrepancy and understand what would be a normal response here and have enough judgment to say, ooh, my response here is actually a little bit more charged than what I would want it to be. Now, once we identify the story, we can turn our triggers into patterns. Across a few days or a week, you want to look at the underlying patterns. So when you have a clear log of situations that come up for you that create these experiences where you're maybe not responding the way that you want, what's going to happen is you're going to see there's certain people, certain situations, certain comments that reveal a story underneath for you. So that's when your triggers become opportunities to step into healing and to rewire your belief system. So for example, you might recognize, wait, I feel stressed when I have meetings with my manager. And whenever my manager gives me feedback, I hear you are incompetent. So we went from one log to recognizing this happens around my manager. We zoomed out. And then boom, we went to the story underneath. Or I might realize when my partner is quiet, I feel she doesn't love me. Now, you're not fighting an enemy you can't even see. You're slowly debugging a clear mental pattern, and you have more power. In step number 4, we have two options. One, you can bring this to someone who can help, right? So this process can help you even when you're working with a therapist, you're working with a coach, you're working with a mentor. You don't have to be working with me to get benefits out of this process. If you have a skilled facilitator that you trust, just doing this will help you get a lot more out of your sessions, because then instead of saying, oh, I've been feeling very anxious lately, and spending the first 30 minutes of your session trying to understand why, you can say, hey, here are 3 moments this week where a story I have to perform to feel loved came up. Can we explore this? Let's see what's going on here. So you take more leadership in the relationship that you have with your mentor or therapist. And like I said, when you're more precise and you have a skilled facilitator, it just leads to faster resolution. This is why sometimes when I work with clients who understand this process, who've been working with me for a while, we can clear a shadow issue within 20-25 minutes. Whereas if I were to meet a stranger or with some shadow issues where there's a lack of clarity, it can take multiple sessions. Now remember that this log doesn't replace good guidance, right? So I'm a little bit hesitant to say, yeah, you can do this all on your own. In some sense you can, but you have to be very careful to not cause yourself harm, and it's going to be a lot slower than working with a skilled facilitator. So the power of this process comes from giving skilled people, a mentor you trust who's helped you before, more material to work with. Now, if you're like, hey, I'm not working with anyone, I want to do this on my own, here's a quick overview, a high-level map for the 3 types of shadow patterns. We have interjections, which is false material you absorb from the outside world. So this could be a belief like, I have to perform to feel loved. This is false material, not true. So what do? We look at, where did this come from? Oh, it came from my dad, because no matter what I did, it was never enough, and I was only appreciated when I got good grades, or I was killing it in sports and I was a good athlete. Boom, had that experience as a kid, I have to perform to be loved. So we go to the original experience and we give it back. This wasn't yours, it came from your dad. And this is just one example, right? Or we have projections where we send out a disturbance that we have to someone else or to the outside world. So for example, getting angry at traffic, right? What's funny about that a lot of the time is we might get frustrated at someone because they cut us off in traffic or they did something crazy. But if you drive long enough, you probably had at least one moment where you did something like that. So we re-own that, right? Or we have split ego states when there's conflict between different parts of ourselves. So the solution there is we find resolution and help these parts understand each other. So this video is more about having a system to log your shadow patterns and move towards resolution rather than going deep into the 3 types of shadow. If you want to learn more about that, here are 2 videos you can check out. I'll also link these in the description and the information icon somewhere here on YouTube, so you can watch them as well. One will go really deep into the shadow patterns and how to resolve each one, and the other one will give you my RDT process, which is a simple daily process you can follow to turn your mind into your biggest asset. So that's step 4. On step 5, the key thing we want to be aware of here is we want to use one system that's the easiest for you to stay consistent with, because consistency beats being fancy, right? So for example, I travel a lot. You know, I spend 1 month in one country and the next month I'm in a different country. And because I travel and I'm in different countries, eating out a lot, sometimes cooking food, but cooking food from a random cuisine, it's hard for me to track my macros. So I looked at, what's the simplest thing I can do to make progress, maybe not the most optimal progress, but some type of progress with my fitness goals. And what I found was, wait, if I just have a scale I can carry around and I weigh myself every single morning, I know enough about my eating patterns to course correct. So that's what I did, and for the past 2 years, that's been the main way that I've been tracking my fitness outside of tracking the weight I lift in my workout. So it's the same idea here. You don't want to try to be fancy, you want to have the simplest thing you can stick to. So this can be a notes app. In our community, we have people, if they want to, right, if they're open to it, track it either in a private Discord log, if this is a one-on-one client we're working with, or in our community. Or you can simply have a dedicated shadow log document. The reason we want to do this is we want to have one place we can update daily, not 7 apps we're using or 7 journals that are scattered across your room, so that it's just very simple to stay consistent. And just so you can see what this looks like at that next level, this is a log from one of our clients inside our DDA Gold community. And as you see, event, situation, I was out with the date and the topic of prior date showed up. This is a girl I've been seeing for a few weeks now. She shared how her ex-friend would basically hit her up and make a move. This is before we met. Charge, 8 out of 10. Stage triggered, we can ignore that for now. Recovery, how fast did he recover? 9. Feelings, story, beliefs, loving witness. So again, you can see this is a little bit more in depth compared to what we discussed, but this is a way in which you can log your shadow patterns. And then when you do this, what you'll see, if you have a skilled facilitator or you understand how to work with the 3 types of shadow on your own, based on your own research, watching this channel, checking out my resources, or checking out other people, whatever works for you, then you will see triggers that used to cause an 8 of 10 intensity drop to 4 or 5 out of 10 over time. The reason this is important is people tend to have this black and white view of clearing belief, rewiring beliefs. So they might say, oh, I tried this, but I still feel like I'm not good enough. It didn't really work. But that feeling may have reduced from a 9 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10. This is why the shadow log is pretty important. So you can extract progress without having to say, unless the whole belief has disappeared, then this didn't work. So that's how you know you're progressing, even if the issues don't disappear right away, so that you can see the same situation with a different story and a different trajectory of life. So for example, this is from one of our clients, Mr. S. And if you look at his most powerful lessons here, the second one on October 10th, he said, reframe the win to be just giving the gift of a compliment and focus on that. Stay present in the moment and engage my curiosity so I can actually respond based on the new information I'm hearing. Key is relaxation. So his story before talking to someone new was, oh, I might be bothering them. Why would they talk to me? The new story is look at the compliment you're giving to a stranger as a gift and sink into relaxation to see what happens from there. Now, if you want a structured 7-day experiment to run this with simple prompts and a 7-day tracker, I built the 7-day data-driven calm protocol that is 20 minutes a day for 7 days with the RDT loop, like I talked about a little bit earlier. And at the end of this experience, you have your own dashboard to see if this works, so you don't have to just take my opinion for it. If you want that, check out the link in description, datadrivenactualization.com/playbook. If you want me to personally help you run this shadow log, and then from there be the facilitator where you bring me the beliefs that you found, your shadow log, your triggers, and we help rewire those beliefs together, then you can potentially look at the 30-day U 2.0 accelerator, where I help you run this loop with one-on-one coaching and the community. We also use Actualize OS, our custom software, like you can see in the picture, to help you consistent and supported. And whatever you pay for the 30 days, if you decide to continue and you've shown up consistently, it rolls forward to the fee for working for a year. So if you're interested in that, or you want a simple plan for the next 30 days for yourself, go to the link in description, the second link, calendly.com, data-driven actualization. U2 is how you book the call. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you understand shadow work at a practical level, so it's no longer a mystery, and you start tracking your shadow log so you can see more progress with your shadow issues and celebrate the progress that you make. I'll see you in the next one.